So I'm going to share out, I got this idea from Asha. She's been doing this for our club officer meetings, and I decided it's a good idea, so I'm going to do it too. It's to use slides. So I'm going to share a slide deck, which you can access anytime after this meeting, during, etc. And I'm going to actually do a screen share of the same slide deck, so that if something gets changed or something, we can do it in real time. Hope that makes sense. Ooh, I have too many things open. I'm not knowing which share. I'm sure all of you have experience trying to decide. Okay, yes, you're all there. Okay, sharing time. Let's see if this works. Yay! Alrighty. For anyone who's having trouble exiting is anyone having trouble exiting the full screen view? Okay, good. Yay. All right. So really quickly, this is a list of all of our moderators. I think all of you know Tim and myself. If you don't know each other, you'll get to know each other very soon. This is my plan for today. It's pretty quick, but hopefully we'll get through it all. And you are welcome to actually come back into this this Zoom meeting afterwards. Like, let's say there's more you want to talk about, but I'm going to request that you take a 5-minute break and sign back on, because it turns out this is my personal account. Alrighty, so first things first, let's go around the room and hear from all of you. I want to know, introduce yourself, but also tell me what you are comfortable with in being a moderator. So in terms of that role, what you're most comfortable with, as well as what you're most concerned about. So let's start with, I see Paul first on my screen.
So I'm sorry, you broke up. Did you say Paul or you said somebody else in that?
I said Paul.
Oh yeah, okay. Hey everybody, so I'm Paul Wallace. I know a few of the people here. I've been in Toastmasters for several years and done different district things. I was a area director and division director when Tim was a division director, and so in terms of TLI helping out as a moderator, I'm not too worried. I've been a moderator before a few times, so just interested in seeing how this is done differently. This is certainly more preparation than I've typically seen, so kudos to you.
Oh, that's good news.
That's because I recruit people who are more detail-oriented than me, Paul.
Thank you.
I do have to say that talking to people who have more big picture perspectives has helped me a lot, because I am the detail-oriented person and I get lost in the details often. So, alrighty, I see Asha next.
Hi everyone, my name is Asha. I'm from the SF Storytellers. This is actually my first time moderating, so I am very much welcoming all the extra prep. I think the thing I feel most comfortable with is, what I'm assuming from the moderator role, is kind of handling the Q&A and stuff at the end. The thing I'm a little bit more concerned about is, of course, just finding a good flow with the speaker and figuring that all out.
Cool. All right, next person I see is Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Yang from Sierra Speakers Toastmaster. I've been a Toastmaster I've been in Toastmasters for about 10, 12 years, different clubs. And I feel pretty good being a moderator in general. I have moderated panels with press, and I work in tech, so I've moderated panels with executives of household tech names. In terms of TLI, this is my first time ever doing this, so I don't know what the format is like, but I'm comfortable in figuring it out.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, next up, Suraj.
Hey everyone, my name is Suraj. I am currently an area director. I'm the area F1 director. I've been in Toastmasters for about 4 years now. I've never done a moderator role, so I'm very interested in learning all about the moderator role. What I'm most comfortable with is my speaker. I know my speaker very well, so I'm very confident in having a good equation with him and conversation with him, as well as introducing my speaker. But I'd like, as many tips as possible on the nuances of moderating a session.
Very cool. This is good to know. And finally, Mahi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mahi Saraf. I am actually area director of Area 4. My base club is Menlo Park Toastmasters. I have done, I've moderated several panel, meetings and interviews, and that I've done either at the Toastmasters Club or at my workplace, but nothing, I don't think I've been ever part of TLI or something as such. So I'm kind of interested to learn about more about what this whole, the TLI is for, and what my role is going to be. This is pretty much, I haven't had that much time to, see what I'm going to do, but a good thing is that I'm paired with Kitsy Evelis, and I guess most of the people know her. So that's the comfort part. So yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, and you do see there, I will post, or if someone could copy and paste that link again, because I don't have the capability right now during a screen share, but basically there's 2 links on that slide. Fill in, if there's a permissions issue, ask me for permissions, but fill in your contact info and fill in how to pronounce your name, because someone is going to introduce you. So, especially if there's something there that's already written there and it's wrong. So please correct it. Okay, great. So Tim can speak about this, but basically the theme, which Tim came up with, Dream, Believe, Achieve, the idea is to become a better version of yourself, the best version of yourself. And of course, the workshops are designed to accomplish that. And what we really want is a high quality event, high quality programming. So that means that we want the workshop to be not only quality content, but be as smooth as possible and as welcoming and engaging as possible. Tim, do you want to speak more to that, or?
Sure, I'll introduce myself. I'm Tim. You all know me. Anyway. The most important thing here is that we have 3 folks that are from outside of our district. One of them is not in Toastmasters. And Paul, you'll be working with Tyree Johnson. Do you know him?
Sorry, I was muted. I think I met him, yeah.
You may have. Tyree was a past district governor of District 57, but he lives in San Francisco.
Okay.
And he also is the reigning evaluation champ. So
Yeah, I think I've met him. I saw your email. I'll write back to him right after.
He's a good guy, real good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Asha. Rita Barber, who's a past district governor of District 4, but she lives in the South Bay, is the person that you'll work with. And she is very good, and her presentation is probably going to be equally as awesome. Stephanie gets the only person who is not a Toastmaster, which is Tara Moriarty. And I tried to send Tara an email from my Gmail and it blocked it. So I had to go into my work email and send it. Tara is the former Fox 2 news anchor for over 20 years here in San Francisco. And then she left that role and went to work as the communication director on Mayor Breed's campaign. And she currently works over at SFO. She's a wonderful person. And in all three of these cases, these are folks that are outside of our district, so we want to really put our best foot forward. And, you know, everybody will do that, I'm sure. But, you know, so you'll be right at home, Stephanie, since you've moderated all these panels. I think you'll be right at home working with her. She's very, very nice person. So back to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim, for clarifying. Yeah, so as you heard there, we have some speakers who are also in the same position as our attendees. The attendees are not all going to be from Toastmasters, and some of them might not be from our district. And so you are sort of like the interface between them and either our district or Toastmasters as an organization. So obviously, make the speaker look good. This means not saying anything that directly contradicts them, not fighting with them, things like that. If you get questions during the Q&A that seem, let's say, aggressive, either, you know, you can choose what to skip. You can also choose what to reword. Use your best judgment. I think you're all great in this arena, but this is something to think about.
One thing, Anat, before you go on, we had a problem in the past, and this was not this year, where we had a moderator who was answering questions for the speaker. The moderator was a guy, the speaker was a woman, and the advice that was given was 180 out from what the speaker would have said. That is the most important thing to me. I mean, use your best judgment about moderating things, use your best judgment, but you know, let the speaker answer the question. If you need to make it less aggressive, I trust all of you to do that in the way that would be appropriate. That's all.
Anat, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just on the technicalities of how questions are going to come in, are the questions from the audience going to come only to me first, or are they going to be visible on the chat to all attendees of the session? So
that's something we should actually figure out. I am open to them coming in to. I originally thought that it would be, you know, chat open to everyone. In which case, you can't control that, but the speaker is probably not going to be following the chat. They're going to be doing their presenting, and so it's not impossible that they would see all the questions, but they probably won't be paying attention to that because they're relying on you to do the chat monitoring.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
go ahead.
On the other hand, a pro of having it be open to the public is that if someone asks a question that you were planning to ask, you're not going to type it in again. So in terms of the volume might be higher if it's on private, meaning that they can only message you.
Right. I have another question.
It's like you might have to notice that questions are the same and kind of prioritize them appropriately and stuff like that.
Right, and then I could actually reword the questions if need be, right? If it comes through me.
Yeah, so that's actually, that's a setting that can be adjusted by our tech.
Okay.
So how does everyone feel about that? Would you prefer it just be a private message to you?
Yes.
Yes.
So
probably
the catch.
I'm sorry.
Say again?
No, you said people's preference. For me, I'd rather it was public, just because then people can see the questions coming in. In my experience, it's often like pulling teeth to get enough questions. So anything we can do to encourage people to ask more questions, I think would be good. But you know, it's up to people what they want to do. Right?
Mhm.
That's another
Okay.
point of discussion.
So we'll return to this issue in a couple slides, or it might be on the next slide.
And I do have a question. I don't know if you are planning to cover the technical aspect, but will we have the co-host authority for the virtual meetings? So, for
So
example, for the Zoom.
in order to enable the private chat where people can only chat with a host or a co-host, you will have to be made a co-host. If you want a public chat, then we will decide based on if the speaker has asked you to, for example, do something like screen sharing. It depends on what capabilities are needed for the workshop. The only reason I'm perfectly happy to make you all co-hosts. I think you have experience with Zoom. The main reason not to is just so that you don't have like too many things to worry about, like whether or not you're trying to mute people or whatnot, because there will be people whose job it is to do things like play whack-a-mole, make sure there's no interference. So you don't have to be the one worrying about that. And so if you're the co-host, you might be tempted to do something when you don't need to.
Right, and that was
my
thing. Yeah, because I don't have much experience with Zoom. I have worked on other platforms, but not on Zoom. And plus, yes, I just wanted to know like whether we need to worry about that, and if we need to put other people on mute if they're asking questions or multiple people are speaking at the same time.
So our thinking on this is to have everyone write into the chat, and therefore we won't be inviting people to speak on the mic. If you really, really want to invite people to speak on the mic, like let's say the speaker tells you that that's what they want for the session, then we can revisit this. But I think it's better to have people type into the chat, and that gives you more control of where it's going.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously there's some amount of preparation you can do. One of them is obviously connecting with the speaker. But there's also, you have to be aware during the session. And so we've talked a little bit about this already, kind of gauging, based on, let's say there's crickets, then you need to have some questions ready, and you can either prepare these ahead with the speaker, or you can determine what they are yourself, either possibly during their presentation, because you'll have questions yourself, or you'll be able to anticipate what kinds of things people will want to know. And like I said, if there's a lot of questions, then maybe there's one that's very popular. That might be the one you'd ask first. Or, if something sounds like a challenge, maybe you either don't ask it or you reword it, etc. Any questions here on the? Okay, and then in terms of time management, it's just like being a Toastmaster of the day. You have to, keep track of what's going on. And of course, if you've connected with the speaker ahead, then you know how much time they plan to speak, how much time they want for Q&A. Maybe there's an interactive portion, etc. You know what their plan is. Short note, we did send out a survey to the speakers. I don't know how many of them have filled it out. I know Rita has, but I have to check again to see if there are more responses. And they're actually telling us, we've asked them, what do you have in mind for the just over 40 minutes that you have? What's your plan? So they might say something like, well, I'm going to do a 15-minute talk plus an exercise for the group of 15 minutes where we do like a case study, and then I'm going to take Q&A for the remainder. Or they'll say what their plan is. So that's something you want to work out with them.
Asha?
No, I just clicked the link and it takes me to viewing the form, but I can't see responses.
That's okay. I will forward.
Okay.
this is actually partly to collect information. This is mainly to collect information for the tech. So we asked, are you submitting slides, for example, that you need us to share? If you see the questions, but if I'm happy to share those responses with you all, as appropriate.
Thank you.
Yeah. But definitely, like, I will follow up with them if I see that they haven't responded. But it's something that if you get the idea that they haven't even seen this, let them know about it. Okay. Obviously, you want to arrive a little bit ahead. So each session is 45 minutes, and then there's 15 minutes of transition time that allows people to move between sessions, or get a cup of coffee or whatever it is they need to do. And so we're asking you to show up in the first 5 minutes of that transition time. So if you show up right away, then you'll have 15 minutes lead time into the workshop. If you show up 5 minutes in, then you'll have a 10-minute wait. That's so that we can verify that you're there, and so that you can coordinate with us, meaning either myself or the Zoom host, to address any issues if any have come up. We're going to give you a script. I'll send that out either tomorrow or the day after, and you can make small modifications to it. So there's going to be a portion where you introduce yourself. Straightforward. You're basically saying who you are and what club you're from. Then there's a portion that is instructions for the attendees. We don't expect you to modify that, but definitely let me know if there are any glaring issues that you think are not comprehensible. And then there's a speaker intro. So that it's a little bit of a bio, basically. And so we have bios from the speakers already, but if you want to adjust it or highlight something, work with the speaker. Like, don't just go off yourself, because you want something that they're happy with. So the idea here is that, there's, I'd say 1.5 to 2 minutes, maybe 1.5 minutes of you talking at the very beginning, and then the workshop like truly begins. And then there will be maybe about a minute worth of wrap up at the end. And both before that happens and after, there's actually music, as well as a slide share to show people like what's coming up next and where to go if they actually meant to be at the other session and stuff like that. Any questions? Hope that's clear. Okay. So like I said, I'll send a script out either tomorrow or the day after.
Sorry, just a quick question. When are you guys planning to do the dry run?
The dry run, yeah. Part of this meeting is actually to schedule that.
Okay, got it.
So there are 2 possible dates, and we'll figure out when you all are available. Okay.
Just a clarifying question.
Yes.
Yeah, just so have you received the intro from the speaker yet?
Bio, yes.
We have bios for all of them.
Right.
And
they sometimes
like I said,
the script that they want you to read, and they give it to you if it's in person. They give it to you when you get there. So I can write to the person and ask them. So that's right.
Okay, so the point is that the script you receive will already have their bio in it. The bios were submitted by them.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm trying to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can you guys can double check to make sure that's what they want for their intro. But
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, a few times I've been a moderator, and the person's turned up and they give me a piece of paper which is different to the script. So
I see.
It's fine, but in this situation, I'll need to contact them in advance, and I'll say, "Oh, that was a bio to go in the program. That's not what I actually want you to read. This is what I want you to read." So,
right.
that's fine.
So yeah, the point of me sending that now is so that you have a chance to verify with them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in Toastmasters, we use the colored backgrounds or colored placards to signal the time points. Because we have a few people who aren't, well, part of it is if there's a timer on screen, then we may have to, then what will happen is that you as a moderator and them as a speaker, like you two will be able to pin the timer, but you'll want, it particularly means that our tech will not be able to spotlight the speaker for everyone else, which is okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that we need to know about. An alternative is that you are the one who are keeping track of the time and that there's no signaling. But in addition, the speaker might request something else. They might say, I'm not good with the colors. Please just, please show me something different. So be ready for that. There may be we want you to display, there's 5 minutes left, or they may ask for something else. So I'm anticipating that as a possibility. So these are things that I want to address in the dry run, if at all possible. Okay, so we have, I want to take maybe 5 minutes to talk about some of the things that people mentioned. So, because some of you have experience with this, what are some good ways to make sure that the flow of things works with what the speaker was hoping for? Like, what are some strategies that have worked for you all?
When I have moderated and inevitably the speaker will say something super interesting but continue to move on, I think what makes for a very interesting discussion rather than a game of tennis is that you politely interrupt them and say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned that blah, blah, blah. Can you tell us more about what you mean? Because if we represent Toastmasters, then we know ourselves what that aha moment is that your speaker is going to say that you want him or her to expound to a larger audience. And so the onus is on us as moderators to have them go further into that. And the audience is somewhat looking to you to ask them to further go into that. And so if you just, and so I think some moderators are a little bit hesitant to interrupt, so they just let them go. But if it's something super interesting, I think I welcome you guys to say, pardon, but I want to bring up something you just said just a second ago. It was really interesting, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. So do you usually ask them ahead if they're planning to do like a proper speech, or if they're planning to treat it like an interview? Or we've had some presenters in the past who say they actually want to give like a 15-minute uninterrupted speech and then take questions. That's why I'm asking.
For me, if that's the case and your speaker, when you dry run with him or her, says that they want to give a prepared speech, then by all means do not interrupt. Yeah. But if at the, maybe in the Q&A, maybe you have a speaker that actually welcomes a more informal interview, then that's when I never really ask them what they're going to say, because it kind of takes away that spontaneity of an exciting discussion. But I do have questions in my mind already in case you guys get crickets and no one else, everyone's too afraid to go first. Ask, you start the question and ask the question that everyone is really wants you to ask to get to the answer that you want.
Sure. Makes perfect sense to me. But I would just ask everybody you may want to ask your speakers and make sure that they realize, hey, if you say something, is this okay? Just so they kind of have that might happen. That's a great point, Stephanie. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, previously we were talking about private versus public chat. You had requested private. Why, what has your experience been with that?
I have moderated a few Zoom webinars where there's hundreds of people on it. And maybe this is characteristic only because there's a lot of people on it, but people tend to be a little shyer in asking questions when they know other people are looking at you, as opposed to, hey, send your questions to me, to one person, and it feels a little less judgmental. Now, I understand Paul's point of view, though. Sometimes it's like because nobody wants to go first and they don't see any activity on the chat platform, no one's going to ask. But if you prepare yourself with, 4 or 5 questions, it just naturally, the people are curious and they're going to ask more and more. So my preference is to keep questions private, because as the moderator, you have absolute control. This means that if a question out of left field happens, no one else has to look at it. You just can move through it, and you have the control to pick out and cherry pick the best ones, because you know which the best ones are.
Okay. What about, let's talk about some of the other things people mentioned. So suppose you're working with someone you don't know well. Some of you are very familiar with the person you're working with. A lot of people know Kitsy, for example. Suraj, you're actually working with someone who you used to mentor, which is amazing. So what happens when you don't know the person well? I know, Paula, you've definitely moderated before. What do you think on this topic?
Well, I'm preparing an email right now, which as soon as we're finished, I'm going to send it off. This is a special circumstance, obviously, because it's virtual. But yeah, just make contact, introduce yourself. I mean, your job really is to, as much as possible, keep out of their way and make sure everything works really smoothly. So it's pretty egoless kind of activity. And so just really, how do you want to decide, so like I'm asking questions, right? You supplied the bio, do you want me to read that? Or do you have something to add? What's your time breakdown? How do you want me to assist with timing? For questions, do you want them in public? Could it come through me? Do you want people to be able to be unmuted so they can ask Q&A? Questions. Do you want me to ask questions? So tell me the question, those kind of things, right? So, so I'll just sort of get it prepped in advance and just make sure everything runs smoothly.
So Annette, I have been a panel member rather than moderator, and when I didn't know, the moderator or the entity who was, or the basically
Well,
association.
I'm going to interrupt you for 2 seconds.
Okay.
I apologize. Looks like my Zoom is going to cut out. How would you all feel about joining in again in 2 minutes? Are you all comfortable with that? Okay. So I'm going to, but we'll hear from Mahi right when we get back. Take this opportunity to get tea or something, and we'll meet back at the same link in 2 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you.